Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Driving Deals to Reduce Cycle Time. I am Jeff Finn and joined today by Matthew Smith to take us through this deep dive into some of the efficiency tools built into the RealNex platform. First, we'll be talking about timelines, how to create a template, how do we assign events to team members, the Gantt chart, how do you use that to win business and to manage your workflow. Then we'll talk about projects. How do you set up and configure a project, managing stages, then applying a timeline to show everything that needs to be done, whether it's a new business development pursuit or to run a deal through the entire life cycle of the project, and lead management to process and most efficiently follow up on your leads. Then we'll take a deep dive into deal rooms and work on adding contents and participants, and distributing your updates efficiently with just one update, updating all the people that need to be updated, and then tracking access, see who's engaged and using that information to help you follow up and work as effectively as you can to deal with the most likely prospects. And finally, marketing, targeting lists for prospecting and using real campaigns to drive traffic into your deal rooms and listing marketplace. So Matt, let's start. Let's do this in segments. Let's first take a dive into timelines and show how they can be built.
Yeah, fantastic. And thanks as always, Jeff, for the great introduction there. So let's talk about timelines. What is a timeline? The timeline is a series of events that will populate with inside of your dashboard and calendar, synchronized with Google or Outlook, and allow you to follow up with many activities, whether that's a prospecting timeline, a leasing transaction timeline, or anything else. It's extremely powerful functionality. I was just having a call with a good client this morning, and then 3 days ago, I had an email saying, hey, does RealNex have the ability to create these timelines? And we do. And this call couldn't have been better. Inside of the program, simply click Tools, Timelines, and then Manage Templates. When you're inside of here, you can simply go ahead and you can click on the eye, and then the eye will walk you through how to create basic timelines. It'll actually automate most of the process for you. Today, I want to show you how easy it is to do live. A lot of people see Jeff and I flow pretty fast through these programs, but we kind of want to break some of this down for you. So when creating a timeline, have the end in mind, whether it's written down, it's typed in a Word document, whatever that would be, whether you're creating a 5-year lease renewal, 7-year lease renewal, business development timeline, transaction timeline for sales, pipeline management, or any kind of series of activities. We used to track football games through our timelines as well as many other things, and you can use it for anything. Quite frankly, they're very powerful. But to create one, just write down what you want and have that ahead of time. So have the end in mind always. Simply hit Add New Timeline, and then we're going to call this Webinar Timeline. And you don't have to use the word timeline. Just make sure you spell it properly. And then the owner, that is me, and then the team. If this timeline is going to be visible for everyone, I want it team everyone. If it's only going to be visible for the apartment team or the office team, we want it just for office or the apartment team or whatever teams you have. So if you want to segment your timelines based upon what teams you have, you can do that. I'm going to make mine available to everybody, and I'm going to hit save. Now, once I do, it put my timeline in here. Now, I might not see that timeline because it's on my second page. I'm just going to go back to my second page, and you can see here, Webinar Timeline. Now, from here, I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit Template Flow. And template flow is going to dictate when these timelines will appear, how long the timelines are going to last for, and then what actions need to be taken within there. There are 2 ways within these templates that we can create different activities. One is an event. That is going to be something that will appear, whether that's a task, a reminder to set an email, a letter, whatever that would be. And the other part is a phase. A phase is just a way to break down our Gantt chart. So let's think about this. We're going to create a phase, and this we're going to say a new phase. And I'm just going to say new phase 1. Now, I like the color blue. You might like the color black, yellow, whatever it would be. I'm going to change this phase. Now you can see here it created a new phase. Add event. My event is going to be initial outreach. I'm going to make an initial outreach with one of my clients, and I'm going to use this as a business timeline or transaction timeline. Now, down here, I like to keep priority as normal. Some of you might want to get in high, medium, low, and other things. Maybe this is going to be removing contingencies in an escrow timeline. That's probably going to be highest, right? We want to remove those in there. In my case, it's just going to be normal. Then we want to say, what is the time frame that it starts in? In my case, I don't want to go ahead and create a timeline and have it automatically appear today. So as I put in new contacts and I'm going to be doing this business development timeline, I'm going to have it start in 3 days. So I just type in the number 3, and you can see here it gives me plenty of options. Next, you're going to see timeless. Timeless just means that there is no time frame for that. That's typically what we want. I don't like alarms for these. If it's something important like removing contingencies or making sure that we have estoppel certificates in a timely manner, an alarm might not be a bad thing, and that will pop up in here as well as in your Outlook and Gmail. Now you can choose a start time in here and include the scheduler of the event, and then how long should that event take? It doesn't take me a day to make a phone call, and then preview is 0. Now participants would allow anybody else to be added to this list of participants. I can come over and click on the menu to select links for participants. These participants will show for people that are inside of your team. So I want this to appear for myself, James, and Steve. So they all see that we have a call for initial outreach. Now, when I go ahead and create a timeline, it can be linked to something. But maybe I want this timeline linked to something automatically every time. I can type in what I want it linked to. Maybe I want it linked to a certain project. I'm going to call this listing pitches because this is going to be part of my listing pitches, and I have one in here called listing pitches, and it will find my listing pitch inside of there, and I can link it to. But I'm just not going to link it to anything right now. Now, any notes? On your initial outreach, we want to ask 4 questions. Those 4 questions will be filled in on the contact or company, depending on what you're doing. We're going to ask, when does their current lease expire? Do they have any options to renew? Do they have any expansion plans? What are their pain points in their current office? Now that is going to be kind of that little note that's going to pop up every time. I'm going to hit save. Now you can see it came under unclassified, and I'm simply going to drag that down, and now I can put it in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and create another phase, and I'm going to say this is new phase 2, and we're going to pick another color, and we're going to say this is going to be hot pink, and I'm going to put this over here, and now I'm going to say and add an event. Now this event in here is going to be send initial outreach email, and then I'm going to have myself follow it up with an email in here. Now this is going to start in 10 days. Look at the activity, and if there's been no contact with a client, send initial outreach email. If there's been contact with a client, simply finish the event and do not send the email. Now we have that in there because we want to make sure that we're not sending that email for a client that already responded to us, and so we don't want to over automate, right? So that's an easy way to do that. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit close on here, and I was able to create the timeline template. I was able to assign the events to the team members, and then as I take this here, whether it's a large transaction or a small transaction timeline, and again, when I say transaction, that could be whether it's selling, buying, it could be business development, anything. It'll create this beautiful Gantt chart here, just like this. Now these can be assigned again to projects, they can be assigned to people, they can be assigned to companies, they can be assigned to anything. And then as you close these events, those events will then show, but you'll see a beautiful Gantt chart. You can also print this Gantt chart, use this in your marketing presentations of, how do you follow up with a client that leases space with you? What do you do differently in your processes? And now you have a beautiful PDF that's saved in here. You have your Gantt chart, and you're starting to have your dashboard populate each day with all those activities. So you don't come in the morning and say, well, what do I need to do today? Your day should be planned ahead of time, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day. And you can see whether these are reoccurring events, they're one-off events, or they're part of a timeline by simply selecting this button here, and now it shows it's part of the timeline. and I can see this is, oh, here's everything else we need to get done. It also eliminates the need for me to communicate with my team via email, text, chat, anything. I simply can come in here and I can see whether or not my team's completed these. And if they've completed it, it will not show in an event, it'll show us in history. So if it shows in here, like meet with seller, it's 155 days old. This was Jeff's event. We're going to just go ahead and quick finish that one out because we know that's been completed. But I didn't need to call Jeff, text Jeff, email Jeff, do anything. It was literally just right there. So keep it simple, right? Didn't they say that? Keep it simple, stupid kind of thing. That's exactly what we want to do with those timelines. And again, they can go hand in hand with things with inside of our program. And those programs typically will be projects with inside of our solution. Jeff, are we ready to move on to projects, or do we want to go over some of those timeline questions that may have come up during this?
Anyone have any questions on timelines? Happy to take the questions now, or if they come up later, we'll come back to it. So no questions yet, Matt. Let's go right into projects and
one
how they apply to a project, and then how you can manage the events, the activities, the leads, and drive your projects to completion.
One thing I'll tell you, if you don't write down your timeline and you try to build it in here, it's going to take you 10 times longer. Just that simple. Projects are awesome. Now, projects can be set up by your administrator with inside of your account. If you're an individual user, or you're the admin, or you're part of an admin team, you'll be able to make adjustments with inside of there. Now, what are projects? Projects can be many things. Projects can be properties for sale or for lease, sublease. They can be a way to track your pursuits, for landlord pursuits, tenant pursuits, land opportunities. They can be deals for sale. They can be tenant assignments. They can be a lot of different things, development assignments, capital market leads. Whatever that would be, projects can manage that for you. Now, projects can be seen in tile view, list view, and Kanban card view. So again, you can use this for anything. Maybe it's your marketing side. I can track anything and do anything with inside of the Kanban cards just by simply moving them around, and it really helps you out. Now, when you get our program, it comes stock, right? And you might want to change things because your stages are completely different. By going to settings, coming down here to system tables and clicking on project setup will allow you to set your stages. Now, again, have the end in mind before you do this. Don't come in here and say, well, what do I need for sale? Or what do I need for lease? Come down here and say, look, in my seller pursuits, I have my initial meeting. Once I have a meeting, there's a 5% chance of me getting to closing, and then working on valuation. And you're starting with the least to the most, meaning that you're going down. It's an upside pyramid. So if you go and you look at one of these, you'll see what I'm talking about. You can see here, so initial inquiry, and then it's going to go all the way down to close. Now you can move those around within there, and you can change the colors. So let's talk about how do we set one of these up, and then how do we configure it. Well, one is you can go through and you can change any of the ones that we have in there that are default: for sale, for lease, tenant rep, buyer rep, and opportunities. Now you can also hide those in the Kanban card view so no one sees those. If you don't use them, hide them. It's the best thing to do to get rid of it. You can also create your own. I have one here for landlord rep, tenant rep, development, seller pursuits, and business opportunities. So to create your own project type, just create a name. We'll just call this webinar project. Okay, it's that simple. Now it's here. Now we can choose a base color. Now a base color is going to say have a gradient, and it's going to go from darkest to light. But you can have different colors like I've done here based upon different stages. So visually it can be appealing. Red, orange, pink, and green might not be what you want, but it makes, when I'm doing a demo, people are like, wow, you can change the colors. Well, if I didn't make those colors like that, they wouldn't have seen it. Now we want to have the end in mind. I can't say this enough. This goes for timelines. When you're setting things up, think about the end. Write it down. I don't come in here and say, well, what statuses should I add for my project? But again, start, go to, webinar, right? Or I'll make a real one in here, and we're just going to say webinar project. We're going to say initial meeting. And then what's the probability of us taking this to completion? So 5% once I have the initial meeting. And then my color, I'm just going to leave blank because I'm going to use my base color. and you can see how that's green. And then next I'm going to say submit broker opinion of value. Now once I submit a broker opinion of value, there's usually a 25% probability, and again I'm leaving my color alone, and now you can see how this is starting to work. And I'm going to add another status, and I'm going to say valuation agreed upon. And once a valuation has been agreed upon, and I hope you type better than I do, we have a 65% chance of closing that. And I'm going to change my color. So once I get to here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to change this to baby blue, Miami blue, right? So now it's in Miami blue. And so you can see how that probability is along inside of there. So now I was able to set up and configure and then have my stages. So now in the program, you'll notice on the right-hand side of new project, you can actually create anything, a new project, company, contact. I'm going to go ahead and create a new project. It's kind of called webinar project example. My client in here, I got to look for Antonio. I'll find Antonio in here, and there's a lot of ants, so I'm just going to pick this one for time's sake. And this is going to be anti-foods because there's so many A's. And the more I type it out, the less will be there. But for time management, we're going to work on that. And then the listing information, if I have a property, we can type in good old 123 anywhere or any of these properties. And I'm just going to pick the top one here. And then I'm going to come down in here and I'm going to say webinar project. So you can see how easy that is. Now I can change my status with inside of here. Those are my statuses in there. Those statuses are also statuses for your leads. And then I can add any additional details, notes, in-house representation. And I'm going to hit save. Now it's going to go ahead and pop up and I can open it. From here, I can add participants. So anybody else is going to be on this, I can add them. Commissioned or non-commissioned, it doesn't really matter. And they can be anybody within inside of your team or anybody outside of your team. So we can select the contact here, and I'm just going to pick Antonio. And then I can put in here, maybe he's an attorney, external broker, and he's going to take a split. Or maybe it's a referral, and I want to keep track of it. We'll give him 25%. Again, this is super important. Now I can go in here and I can save that. And again, I already have 100% split on there. So you say it gave me, you see it gave me an error. You can't have more than 100%. I know we want more than 100% of the commission, but you can't have more than 100%. So if you get that, that's exactly why. Click on edit commissions and let's just come over here and we're going to take away that commission. We're going to put this to 25%. And again, that type I just dragged and dropped. That's why I did that. We'll put external broker on here and then hit save. Right, so you can't go above 100%. I'd love to have 300% commission on all my deals, but there's only 100% of the pie. You can't get more than the pie. So now what we can do is a couple things. And now what we can do is we can actually come over here and we can add additional things. So if we need to add an attachment to this, like the listing agreement, we can do that now from there and just drag and drop that listing agreement. But what we might want to do is we might want to go ahead and create our timeline and attach that timeline. So now we can go here, click on events, and you'll see schedule timeline. I'm going to select my timeline here, and I'm going to select it when we had. And this is our webinar timeline. I hit schedule, and I'm going to say link to. I only want it linked to this project. I don't want to link to anything else. Team everybody, and then I'm just going to hit finish. And now what that is done is it will automatically have those appear, and you'll see them filling down here. So again, you don't want emails going back and forth with your team and text messages and all these chat bots and everything else. It's a waste. Look, if Matt hasn't called the initial outreach, it's going to show a negative number here. If he has, then it will be in a history. It's that simple. And then all this history will turn into a report. I don't need to communicate with my team at all. It's so efficient. You'll find out it's absolutely amazing and amazingly efficient. You also have a great lead management tool in here. With lead management tool, you'll be able to track all your leads. And then again, your initial meeting, submitted evaluation, and valuation agreed upon, and we can change those colors again within that, within side of that lead section there. To add a new lead, you can do it on a contact record, you can do it on a company record, you can do it from anywhere within inside of the program, or if you're on the project itself, you can just tie in the lead. Now, a lead doesn't have to be, and get this, Jeff, a lead doesn't have to be a person. It can be a property. Maybe I'm working a buy-side assignment for a client. I'm just going to put in 1, 2, 3, and maybe I don't have Main Street in there, but a lead can be a person, it can be a property, it can be a company, it can be anything. And take the 3 seconds, fill in the size, 5,000 square feet, estimated close, commission, put that information in there. It's important to see because that information then can be used for your reporting purposes. And then I'm going to say that this is your initial meeting. Again, your lead statuses are in there. And now as I click on here, you'll be able to see, and I can move these and drag them and drop them and move them across. So that should be an easy way for everybody to understand how to set up and configure your project, create your own stages, apply a timeline, and then do lead management within inside of the system. And then again, you can see all kinds of details, including more charts. So what's in process, how much is in process. We can generate marketing activity reports. We can come in here and we can generate commission reports. So if we want to see a weighted commission report based upon probability, you have all these reports built in the program for you. Now I can take that a step further and I can click on this button here called Deal Room, and then this is going to take me over to my Deal Room. Are we ready to move on to the Deal Rooms, Jeff?
We are. I was just going to guide you there, but you beat me to it. So you're right on schedule, Matt. Well done.
I have a saying, if you're waiting on me, you're going backwards.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm going backwards today. There you go.
Deal Rooms. Deal Rooms are awesome. Now, what are they used for? Whatever you want. Jeff and I are heading to SIOR. I want to share all the photos with Jeff of everything that we are out in SIOR, because it's going to be a star-studded event in Los Angeles. If you're going to be at SIOR, join us. We'll be there in October. I want to share those photos with Jeff so we can put them up on our website. I want to create a deal room. No problem. I can do that. Or you can use the deal room for lead generation all the way through escrow. Now, to create a deal room, it's real easy. All you need to do is click create deal room from a project. Now this project already has one, so I'm going to go to let's go here to the last one, and I can click into here and click on the last one. Webinar project. Now, deal room, no deal room linked. Create new link to an existing deal room. I'm going to create a new link. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to create a new deal room. You saw how easy that was. Now you can create a deal room in a couple different ways, but I want to show you how easy this is live. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no magic tricks. Now you'll see a couple check boxes in here, and you can't check them until you hit edit. And the reason being is because we want you to see what this is about. ESRN, this is going to be electronic records and signature notification. That means you're going to get an email for it. Doc update auto email, super important. Doc center registration, when someone registers the document. This is great. Electronic records, so they'll check a box electronically, sign it off to your CA. The only way this ESRN works and your CA comes in there is if you upload something. So I'm just going to put in here my RealNex short deck so you can see here, and I'm going to save that. Now what this does is now I have my 3 checks. Always have the 3 checks. I think it's just best practices. I uploaded my CA, so if I click on deal room links, you're going to see 2 links. One's directly to the deal room. One link is to the confidentiality agreement, and I can hit this to test it. There's my company. Now your company is not going to say your company, and now they can register to the deal room if they haven't yet, and it will prompt them with what they need to do to sign up. Then it will take them to a CA link. Again, super important that you check those boxes, and sorry, I didn't mean to click that button there. So now we want to add contact and participants. I love the auto doc update. Maybe you have lenders in here and you put in new deals and you want them to give you a term sheet back. This is a great way. I can add more to participants that are all my lenders. Now I can click new and I can create a new contact, or I'm just going to type in Ant like I have here. Here's Antonio, perfect. That pulled all the information in directly from the RealNex CRM. Now, Antonio's one of my top clients, so I know I can give him fourth level access, and I can send him an invitation. Perfect, sends him an invitation. And then it would add him as a participant in here once he logs into the system. I can also bring in records from the CRM. So if I have a group in here, now I can go ahead and I can add these people to my group. I can either add them or I can add them and invite them. I'm just going to add them right here. Add an invite would invite them to register to the deal room. Now I can come back in here and you can see my participants within inside of the program, and you'll see all those participants in there. Next, we want to add some content. So content's great, and we always talk about content's king. So if I want to add some content, how do I do that? Well, I can come over here and I can add my document, and then I can decide what security level. This is going to be basic. It's just a simple lease negotiating we're working on with a client, and I want Talon Commercial to be able to access it, and there's nothing else. And I don't need to have them sign off on a certain date. If you have folders, you can drag and drop your whole folders and have your whole hierarchy in there. Let's give you a good example of that. 1, 2, 3 Anywhere. It's my demo project. In here, I just dragged and dropped all my documents from my PC. Works on a Mac too. And then each one of these, I can have a security level for each folder. I can also have a security level for a folder and then a different security level for those documents. I can have required sign off by a certain date and require that they're signed off, and then I can see when they were signed off in here and whether it's late, and then I can see all that within inside of our portion, and then I can report back on it and see who's logged in, when they've logged in. New participants for me is kind of weak, and then I can use this for any of my email marketing to make sure that that marketing collateral gets out of there. And again, you want to share that deal room link, and you can copy it by clicking the copy button, or just copy it right there. And then as we have new updates, what's neat about that is if I add a new document in here with the auto update, when I add it to it, everybody in my deal room will get a notification that I've added a new document. So if you have a price change, if you have some tenant turnover, or maybe you've leased some additional spaces in there and you want to show them, maybe you're waiting for documents like your eSOFL certificates, which everybody hates getting. Maybe it's some additional information or plans, title commitment, whatever that would be. Those documents then will be updated to everybody that's in there. It's a great way to silently show them that it's a price reduction without having to say, hey, here's a price reduction email. It's a great way to do that. And then again, you can track all your access, but you can also track your access in this portion right here in the project side. So if I go and I click on 1, 2, 3 Anywhere, and I go into my deal room, you can see in here that I can track my participants in here. Unfortunately, Kevin here, I had to suspend him. So suspend access, I found out he was trying to take information, and he's a broker, and he was trying to get my tenants. So I told him he signed off on a CA, don't touch it, and I suspended him and told him to kick out of here. So that's a way you can add content, participants, distribute updates, and then track access all in your deal room. How are we looking like on time, Jeff? I want to make sure we're
Matt, just one more item to cover and open for questions. Let's just talk about marketing real quick. How do you target? How do you develop a targeted list and get a listing out to them?
Well, what's really neat is, and I'll show you something, and I think people are going to get this aha moment. So we sold this building. It closed on July 25th of 2024. I'm going to ask Jeff a trick question. I already know the answer to this one. But Jeff, how many people bought this building?
Just one bought it.
One bought it, but how many leads do I have here?
Lots of leads, but just one bought it. That's gold.
Now, all I need to do is click linked contacts, right? And what this is going to do now is it's going to pull up all my leads that got that were interested in that last building, because I have a similar building that meets the criteria. Now, I'm going to click this button, and I checked all 8. Now, Antonio purchased the property, buys everything, okay? But Bob and everybody didn't get an opportunity, they missed out. And I can send them an SMS campaign through the Ring Central integration. And I can also go ahead and I can email a campaign to all those 7. See 7? Even though I have 8 in my query, I'm only going to send it to the 7 selected ones. So those are my target lists. Now, you might have target lists that are more. We talked yesterday on one of our task force calls, and it was like, well, Matt, what if they want a certain mix, or they're 125 plus unit buyer, but they're changed. Well, we can show you how you can filter out that information. But now we can send an email, whether it's a HTML email or it's a letter email or whatever that would be, and you can use our templates in here and create your own email. You can use the templates here, or you can send it out through Marketplace and do it based upon an asset. Dear recipients, just want to let you know that I know that you missed out on the last deal, but I'd love to get your buying requirements so we can find out a new deal for you. Or, hey, I know you lost out on the last deal, but we're taking offers now on another deal that's very similar. Here's a link to the deal room. However that would be. Schedule it for 4 a.m. so they think you're a superstar, and you just don't have it too early. Like, I don't know, 5:30 a.m. And then it'll schedule out, and we can track all those statistics back in our real campaigns and follow up with them, along with the statistics that are on those contact records are there as well. So it's really nice to be able to see that, and you can see what emails bounced, who clicked it, who opened it, and that then can drive your marketing activity report. It can also drive your activity, because we're going to be calling on 2 first, and then the 8, and then we're going to have research go back and look for bounced emails and dropped emails. Dropped emails are typically similar to bounced emails, but they could have got blocked somehow. But now we have that way to track and drive that data. And if you've also heard my, pick it and stick it, pick 4 things that are important to you, and you can filter upon any of those data points. So whether those data points are buying criteria or leasing criteria, like I have an example here, you can see lease expiration, or, here's some buyer criteria that I have. Those are things you can drill down on. And when I say drill down, we're going to go ahead and drill down on, asset type and units and square footage or whatever is important to them. But you can always eliminate those filters, meaning that you can load a filter up, and I'll load a filter like this that has apartment minimum, maximum, cap rate. And it might only show, well, mine showed a lot, but you could narrow down and take off these filters and be like, you know what, I want actually to see more people, and how many more would be a part of that. And then that list would grow. Or you can add to the filter and the list will contract. Right? See how easy it is to create target lists and drive traffic with real campaigns. Add a deal room link in there for a nice call to action. Gather some information. You can add that to your listing as well. And then you'll start getting some notifications and alerts. A client viewed my watch list. That's awesome. My real campaign was opened. Wow, I'm getting really good at this. My website was viewed. This is even better. And then I gotta download my backup and reconnect my Outlook, because Outlook makes you reconnect. So does Google. But hopefully this all helps you to drive deals to reduce time cycle. And that's what it's about. Six Sigma all the way. I'm telling you, it's changed my life and my mind about a lot of different things. And it's all about creating a efficient process with ways to reduce waste. And that can be for anything in your life, but hopefully you can apply that to RealNex. How are we looking like on time?
We're good, Matt. I think you covered it. Yeah, you must have answered all the questions in advance by going forward and not backward. So no questions. Everyone's good. Give you one last chance to chime in if anyone has anything. Otherwise, we will wrap it up.
I'll tell you, if you're using Chipmunky and some of those other systems that are out there, they're amazing. But I just saved a client $120 a month, and they don't do a lot of emails. I was shocked how much money they were paying for one of those competing products, and they came over and used our real campaigns. And we can do custom domains. So if you're sending emails out of our program and you're sending them out of info@realnex.com, contact us. We can change that to your domain, as long as you have ownership of the domain. You can't get a domain that you don't own. So I can't have it at Tesla.com. It'd have to come from, your domain you own. But we can add that custom domain, and we got some new updates of real campaigns coming. But if you have a competing email program and you want to see how much money you can save, send it to me. If you don't like saving money, that's okay. But if you do, send it to me. Email it to me, and I'll tell you if I can save you money or not. What is that saying, Jeff? 15 minutes can save you 20% or more on your car insurance. 3 minutes can save you 50% or more on your email marketing.
Outstanding. Well, thank you all for joining us. Thanks, Matt, for covering the ground on driving these deal efficiencies and streamlining that workflow. Timelines are incredible, and the deal management through projects is fantastic. Deal rooms will save you time all the way along, and even create a bidding environment with your clients to make them compete, or to have your leads compete. And next week we're doing something different. Matt's going to be on vacation, and we're kicking off our next round of best practices session. And Bobby Mastracci, one of our great loyal clients from Phoenix area in Arizona, will be joining us and sharing some of the best practices she and her team have employed. So come back and see us next week, and Matt will be back in a couple weeks, and we'll pick up the webinar series. Have a great day, Matt, and a great time off next week.
See you, everybody.